Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everyone.
Recording in progress.
Good evening, good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Shiva. I'm doing an interview with the Tony Lohnes from the Nova Scotia Free Speech podcast. So let me bring on Tony and let's begin.
Hi, Dr. Shiva, and welcome to our Nova Scotia Free Speech Bulletin podcast in Nova Scotia, Canada. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I understand you're running for President of the United States.
Yes, that's right. We're running a very historic campaign because, I'm the first naturalized citizen and immigrant who's running under a very important set of provisions that came from the 14th Amendment. So that's one piece. But more importantly, I think this is the first time, in a long time, probably since the founders, a scientist, an engineer, an inventor, someone who actually knows how to solve problems is running versus, sort of semi-business people and lawyers and lobbyists.
Can you tell us about the patented supplement MV25 and the Truth, Freedom, Health movement to our viewers up here and down through the States?
Yeah, I think if you want me to talk about MV25, it's an interesting, on a scientific note, some people may know that the work I do is really all based on a systems approach. Truth, Freedom, and Health is a system. MV25, which is a creation that came out of my effort in really trying to understand the systems of molecular systems, is also part of that. So I can talk about that, but to step back, when I say a molecular system, your body is a system. This computer is a system. Everything in and around the universe is a system. Politics is a system, right? Elections are systems. Everything we see are systems. So one of the key things that our movement for Truth, Freedom, and Health educates people on is to understanding the principles of all these systems. So if you take your iPhone, I take this bottle of vitamins, I take this computer, this microphone, all of these are systems. Now, imagine if you could have a common set of a handful of principles that let you understand how the iPhone operates or the computer operates or your body operates, how food is a system. Then you would have quite a profound ability. You'd be in some ways a master of your world, right? Because you could really understand how any system works. If you understand how a system works, you could really understand what is a problem with it if you ever have to diagnose and what are the solutions. Does that make sense, Tony? So the foundation of the movement for Truth, Freedom, Health teaches people these 9 principles. And by the way, those in power, quote unquote, the elites, or as I call the swarm, know these principles. They go to some of the elite schools and they study them. Most people in the world do not know them. I would say about 10 to 20,000 people know these principles. Once you understand these principles, you have immense amount of power, because one of the principles of systems is a goal. What goal do you want to achieve? And you use the other 8 principles, Tony, to achieve those principles, to that goal. Well, the goal of those in power, or the goal of those who enslave us, is power, profit, and control. Our goal, we believe, is truth, freedom, and health, which is completely the opposite. Now, whether you want to achieve the goal of power, profit, and control, or truth, freedom, health, you have to understand these principles. So that's what we teach. If I were to, I think I can share my screen, right? I don't know if I can, but if I were to be able to share my screen with you and with our audience here,
yes, you can.
Yeah, they will be able to understand that if I take you to the site, let me go to the site. If I go to the site called Truth, Freedom, Health, which is truthfreedomhealth.com is where everyone should go to if you're listening. And by the way, everyone knows you can follow us, you can notify us, because of all the shadow banning goes on, it's important to do that. But let me just go over here. If I go to truthfreedomhealth.com, you will see that this site, which everyone should go at their leisure to review, is a very simple but powerful site, because it gives everyone an understanding of how this system works, or what is truth, freedom, and health. So if I go to that site, can you see it over there, Tony?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So if you see it there, what you'll see here is just like any of the inventions I've created or system, this is a system. And you notice on the right side, there's a little diagram. There's 12 components to the system. First of all, it includes the Foundations of Systems course. It's a course I used to teach at MIT. And it's even beyond that. But with this knowledge, people will actually understand how every system in the universe works. And if you scroll down through it, there's a whole little course outline here. It's detailed there. But people actually understand what you would learn in a graduate school course or an advanced control systems course. You would understand sort of the 5 principles of all dumb systems, the 9 principles of all intelligent systems, and people get to understand how every system in the world is interconnected to the understanding of systems from thousands of years ago. And in fact, those systems and the ancient systems and modern systems have the same 9 principles, but you could apply this to your body, you could apply it to your health, you could apply it to anything. You could apply it to politics. We've included some very incredible books that are rolled in, a theory paper. In fact, we've created a software tool that allows people to understand what kind of system they are, what foods are appropriate for their system, and how people can actually learn to steer their system to optimal performance. So that's very important because it's not about a diet. We have the Cytosolve Open Science Institute where we share some incredible papers as a part of this tool chest. We give once in 2 month regular lectures, and we take a systems approach, for example, to understanding cannabis or gun violence. We go down to the heart of these issues, or the immune system. We also have a platform where people can teach others. Our model is learn, teach, and serve. And then I do a lot of one-on-ones with people. We have a global community in 120 countries now. 500 million people have heard about our movement, 500,000 people worldwide. And then we want people to get on the ground. Nothing changes. The future is offline, Tony. The online medium, since I know you're with the Nova Scotia Free Speech group there, Elon Musk and the government alliance with social media has destroyed social media. So we tell people to get on the ground and we create flyers, and we have our own version of Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. So fundamentally, what we've created here is a very powerful infrastructure for changing the world. And that infrastructure really provides people these incredible tools. So that's what Truth, Freedom, and Health is. Now, that same systems approach I can use to create a macro system that can help each individual become their own teachers, their own gurus, and their own agents of change. We can apply that same systems approach to any system. So, for example, if you take arthritis in your body, what is arthritis? Arthritis is a set of molecular pathways that were functioning right at one point when you didn't have pain and inflammation, and they stopped functioning right. So a disease is in many ways is a systems dysfunction, if that makes sense, Tony. So your body has a natural homeostasis, how the parts are interconnected to each other and how they operate. And when those parts go out of alignment, you get a disease. So if you look at osteoarthritis, your body has a whole set of hundreds of thousands of reactions and many different molecular pathways that are involved in maintaining proper joint function. And under certain conditions, those pathways will go off. So in 2007, when I finished my PhD at MIT, I created a very powerful technology called Cytosolve. Cytosolve eliminates the need for animal testing. We can literally take cancer, Alzheimer's, different diseases, mathematically model it on the computer. We've been doing this for a long time, and I can go into the details of that. But with that capability, it took us 16 years to build this out. We've tested it. You can then use the computer mechanistic model to test different compounds. So we've been helping many, many companies across the world, reduce toxicity, right? Reduce side effects, finds out things that work. When I first got into this, I thought very naively, if you look at the pharmaceutical companies spend about 13 years building a drug. It takes them $5 billion, and they have to go through this very medieval process. They have to test stuff in a test tube, then they have to kill a bunch of animals. That takes 6 years. Then if they get the government to help them do clinical testing, it takes another 9 years. And by the time the drug comes to market, 15 years have gone by and $5 billion roughly. And most of these drugs have lots of side effects. And this is why a lot of the pharma companies' revenues have been tanking. So when I was sort of, as a young PhD, I said, wow, maybe people would use my technology so they wouldn't kill all these people, right? We could find out stuff that works. It could save them time and money. We work with the two pharma companies who were a little more advanced and wanted to do stuff, but even they got shut down from using our technology because we could easily find out if their stuff doesn't work. You follow? But the reality is that pharma companies work in a business model which is really about shoving stuff down through what they call the pipeline. But my first love has always been natural products, having come from India. So we started helping many, many natural products companies. Let's say who had some vitamin product and they put stuff together, but no one knows if the stuff works. Even the big vitamin guys are getting as bad as the big pharma guys because they just put crap together and no one knows if it works. So with Cytosolve, we're actually able to find out if something works or not, Tony. Because, so for example, if you look at osteoarthritis, there's all these chemical reactions that are involved. What we did was we looked at every natural compound in nature and we tested it. And we found two very interesting compounds. One comes from bitter orange, which grows on the streets like in Spain and, different places, right? And parsley. And we found these two very interesting compounds that when we combined them together, they hit 5 molecular pathways of pain and inflammation. So, but we were much more diligent. We wrote a scientific paper validating this. We used it and tested it on Cytosolve, and we found the right combination. In fact, we got a US patent. And about 2 years ago, I created a product called MV25. You can create it right there. I've always helped others, but this was the first time I manufactured our own product. And we created about 1,000 units. They sold out in a week. Then we created 10,000. They've sold out in about 6 to 9 months, and we're creating more. It's 2 natural ingredients. It's not, synthetic drugs. So they're very, very powerful, and, they have no side effects at all. So Cytosolve is a revolutionary breakthrough because we can use it to discover all sorts of combinations of things that work without killing animals. But MV25 is a product of that.
Can dementia, Alzheimer's be cured?
Well, so we spent about 4 years and we mapped out every molecular pathway of Alzheimer's. Okay. And we are right now testing individual and dual combination natural compounds with it. So you have to understand Alzheimer's is a systems problem. It's multiple molecular systems interacting, and many things can cause Alzheimer's. Now, the theory that was promoted by one scientist in Minnesota about 16 years ago turned out to be a fraudulent theory, and it drove the industry or the field for 16 years. And the guy's never been reprimanded. He literally photoshopped images of his research. Okay. But anyway, that's what happens when you rely on one academic institution. What we do is we take all the known research in a field, we integrate it, we extract out the mechanisms, and we model it. So we are just starting to do that. But one of the compounds in MV25 is a very interesting compound called apigenin, which is very good, crosses the blood-brain barrier and has very, very powerful positive effects for the brain.
Dr. Shiva, I want to share something with you. I'm in Canada, and I don't know if you know this since you're talking about vitamins and stuff. Did you know Justin Trudeau in Canada is trying to take our natural products from us, raise the prices up? And
wow. Yeah, so you bring up something fascinating. So everyone listening here, what Tony is sharing is that Justin Trudeau in Canada literally wants to basically take the vitamins off the market, or he wants to raise the price of vitamins.
I mean, we are living in a communist country, and I guess what leads me to it's on saveoursupplements.ca, and I just want your audience to know if they want to watch any of our podcasts to type SOS60 in Rumble, and they can you have
Well,
any advice?
let me talk about this, okay? If
Sure.
you think about it broadly, in the United States as well as in Canada, the particularly in the United States, if you think about people's lifespan, Tony, starting in 1980, the industrialized nation's lifespan was going like this. Since 1980, the US lifespan is going like this, downward. And it is not any one reason, Tony. It's a multiplicity of reasons. It has to do with the healthcare policies. It has to do with the dirty air, dirty water, right? It has to do with the incredible amount of stress Americans are under, and so on. Okay. And so since 1980, so if you have a child today, and let's say you're projected to live to 80, your child is going to live to 72, for example. Okay. So on top of this, the reason this relates to the supplements is there are some amazing vitamins that are quite powerful for prolonging and having a healthy and prosperous life. One of them is a vitamin called NMN, okay? And that supplement, a professor at Harvard, a true scumbag, a prick of some sorts, who does quote unquote aging research, he decided he was going to make that into a drug, even though it's a supplement. You see, he went the other way. And the way he got it under the drug status is he went to the FDA and he goes, I want to do clinical trials on this, on aging. And once the FDA gave him the allowance to go to clinical trials, he then argued by another law, oh, this is now a drug, even though he hasn't done the testing. Therefore, all the supplement manufacturers must pull it off the shelves. Do you follow what I'm saying? So imagine if I were to say that I have an apple here, and I know apple is good for, I don't know, for your digestive health, right? And then I say I'm going to try to take the active ingredients in apple, and I'm going to go get a clinical trial approved by the FDA. The day I do, then it's saying that I cannot take those particular compounds in apple. And if someone's selling them, like quercetin, let's say, the skin, they have to take it off the market because it's now a drug. So what the elites are doing is a dual thing. They're passing policies to kill people early. And those things that are very good for us, like these supplements, they're getting them into a different category so they can take it off the market. But what's occurring in the United States is quite extraordinary. It could become a precedent for what the rest of the world does.
Well, this is all part of the World Economic Forum. They're trying to kill people. Isn't that what's going on with these vaccines? Or I call them bioweapons. I've seen a lot of deaths. I had funeral embalmers on my show, John Lohnes, different Wallace Hooker and Richard Hirschman, all funeral embalmers. John was from the UK, and the other two gentlemen are from the States. They showed gristles and blood clots in people that died that were vaccinated. And what would you do as President of the United States? Would you get these banned? And number two, would you get rid of the World Economic Forum? Because this is what's going on. They're trying to take anything good for us away. And I guess I'll follow that up with another question. As President of the United States, would you save Canada? Because I will point to Iraq. When the United States invaded Iraq, they said Iraq had weapons of mass destruction, and they didn't. But we have a weapon of mass destruction. It's called Justin Trudeau. He has turned this country into a communist country. It's SOS Canada to the US. We need you guys.
So let's sort of take a step back, okay? I think the first thing that needs to be understood is that we live in a global economy right now. And if you saw the swarm video I did, I think you probably saw that. That video really laid out that those in power are a very finite set of people, highly interconnected, and it's not any one person. So when we say the elites of Canada, you're also looking at their interconnected brothers in the United States elsewhere. So the elites are highly, highly connected, as I talked about in that swarm video, and everyone should go see that. In 15 minutes, people really understand the system dynamics of those in power. It's easy to understand, but it's very potent. So given we live in a very interconnected world, typically the United States leads. Whatever occurs in the United States in about 5, 10, 15 years, right? It'll occur in other countries. So if lifespan is going down like this, it'll also occur in all your countries. So from a systems perspective, if you look at health, we need to take a systems approach, and we need to look beyond vax and anti-vax. And I've been saying this since forever, you know, as an expert on the immune system, we need to go not to talk about vaccines and not vaccines because you get lost in a dialectic. The real issue is to talk about resilience. Let me repeat that again. The real issue is a very important word you may write down called resilience. Resilience is what we want. It's not about vaccines and anti-vaccines, because you have a lot of scumbags who are taking the real fundamental issues and they're saying all sorts of wacky stuff on the anti-vax side, and they're actually discrediting the real issues, the real problems of what I call artificial immunity. That's what a vaccine is, okay? The fundamental thing we need to understand is that the immune system is a very complex system, and it's supposed to be tested. You know, your body, you're supposed to work out with it. You're supposed to stress it, especially when you're a child. During this very early development stage, your body is supposed to be stressed, so you turn on your immune system. Kids are being isolated. Kids are not allowed to go outdoors. Kids are not allowed to play with other kids. You don't get to play with dirt and all these kinds of things you're supposed to do. And if you don't do that, guess what's going to happen? You're not going to have an immune system that's fully developed. So you're creating a whole strata of the population now, which literally has a screwed up immune system, okay? It's not strong, it's not resilient. So if they were introduced to something like, I don't know, different kinds of antigens, their body overreacts. I mean, when I was growing up in India, I never heard of allergies. And it's only when I came to the United States, I heard, oh, I have this allergy or that allergy. Because when you're a child growing up like I did in India or even in New Jersey, you were playing outside, you were exposed to all these different kinds of foreign antigens. Now, an antigen can come on the surface of a virus, it can come on fungus, it can come on tree pollen, it can come in dirt. But when your body's exposed to all these things, your body has a good immune response and it gets strong. Does that make sense? So
it makes sense, Dr. Shiva, but these vaccines are breaking down your immune system.
Well, what's really happening is the following. What's happening is let me show you a graph. What's really happened is, because we're going to get lost, because we're going to get taken advantage of. Let me show you this graph here. I have a very powerful graph that really goes at the heart of it. You see, I'm a systems guy. I'm not an individual who is here to push an opportunist narrative. It was me in 2020, which called out the Fauci, which called out against lockdowns when people like Robert Kennedy were promoting lockdowns, okay? And Trump was promoting lockdowns. So we have to go to the systemic issue here. Let me show you a graph here. Let me see if you can see my graph. Can you see this graph here? You should be able to see that, okay? So if you see that graph, and let me put it on for everyone at home here. So if you see that graph, do you see it?
Yeah.
You know what that graph is of? Let me show you what that graph is. That graph is a graph of, so all those little lines represent the lifespan of people since 1980. The gray line represents the lifespan, average lifespan of all the, every line represents the lifespan over time of industrialized nations, many Japan, Germany, Canada, etc. The gray one is the average. You notice how the United States is going? You see that? It started going down this other direction completely. And then over here, right here, started going down around 2014. And when COVID hit, it went like that. You see that? Now, a lot of people who don't get the whole system view, they said, oh my God, it's the vaccines. No, it's not just the vaccines. What occurred over this period is that during this period, the immune systems of the average American has been destroyed. And the immune system is the operating system of aging. Let me repeat that again. Your immune system is indicative, your strength, how you age. So since 1980 to today, until this point, and you can see it was even going down here as far as 2014, the immune systems have, so what destroys the immune system? Obesity, okay? disruptors in the soil. This didn't just occur overnight. If we do that, we're absolving all the people long before Justin Trudeau, long before Donald Trump, long before Joe Biden. This goes back all the way to, the Kennedys back here implemented policies, Reagan, Clinton's, Bush's, Obama's, etc. During this period, the immune system of the average American has been destroyed. So how does your body handle a virus? When a virus comes to you, Tony, any antigen, okay? It is not the virus that kills you. It is your reaction to that virus. Let me repeat that again. It is how your body reacts. So forget even here, over the last years, 2.5 million people now, 2 billion people in the world are obese. So a lot of the people who died in this period were people with pre-existing conditions because their immune systems were shot. And this is what's going to occur over the rest of the world. In fact, Okinawa, Japan, which was known as one of the blue zones, which had the longest centenarians, is going the other direction. McDonald's, Burger King have all gotten in there. So we need to see this from a systems perspective. Or what happens is the next crisis comes. Oh my God, it's not the vaccines today. It's the, GMOs in the soil. Then next day it's going to be something else. The next day, and all these nonprofits keep collecting money along the way. But we need to understand both wings of the establishment have destroyed people's immune systems. And the only way out of this is to strengthen the immune system. So how do you strengthen the immune system? How do you do that?
Number one, you stay away from vaccines. Number two,
well, you have to strengthen your immune system. If you stay away from vaccines and you don't let your kids play outside and do that, that's not going to...
I agree with you there. Yes, I definitely agree.
Well, you have to go to the source of this, okay? The source of this is that since 1980, people's immune systems have been destroyed, okay? Now, you look at the pharmaceutical drugs, which are untested, endocrine disruptors, all of these have contributed to that. When you look at the vaccines, which, as an immune system guy, I've looked at this deeply, there are 4 vaccines that were put out there, right? 3 of them were mRNA, and the other was the non-mRNA vaccine. So several years ago, I wrote a paper on the pericytes, okay? What are the pericytes? Pericytes are a very important component in your body, which goes along every blood vessel in your body, okay? And along every blood vessel in your body are these pericytes. The pericytes control the vascularization of your body. Well, the COVID-19 protein, spike protein, affects and can injure the pericytes. So when those get injured, guess what happens? You destroy the vascularization, which can lead to CVT, cardiovascular thrombosis. And by the way, let me just make a point. Also, Tony, I don't know if you know, all of these doctors are now coming out, quote unquote, against the vaccines. 99% of them said shit in 2020 when I was out there organizing protests against the lockdowns. These guys were mum then when they should have spoken up. Now, 2 years later, they're saying, oh my God, and they knew they were bad. So when it was bad, they didn't say anything. They knew these things were untested. And now when it's after people have been killed and died, now they're, oh my God, it's bad. And they're doing lecture tours. So we have to recognize, you have to look at what someone said at the right time. And if you look at my track record, I was the one who ran the Fire Fauci campaign. Why Robert Kennedy was promoting lockdowns. Trump didn't do anything. We collected 120,000 signatures and delivered to Trump. We're the ones who ran.
How are you going to convince Donald Trump? How are you going to convince people to vote for you and not Donald Trump? Because that's what I'm hearing, that Donald Trump is getting back in again.
Well, let's talk about who is being talked to when you say they, okay? Let's take a big view. If you take the populace in the United States, let's say you take, 1,000 people, right? How many of those people do you think are registered to vote, Tony?
I honestly don't know. You tell me.
Well,
Dr.
I'll give you an example. Massachusetts, out of the 6.7 million people, 5.5 million people in just one state are eligible to vote. Out of those 5.5 million people, 4.5 million people are registered to vote. That means 1 million people don't even bother voting. All right? Even though they're...
There's a lot of people don't want to vote in Canada.
Right. So we'll talk about it. So 1 million people right there are dark matter. Out of the 4.5 million people registered to vote, out of those, only half of them on a good day vote. Okay. So 2.2 million to 2.7 million people vote. That means there's another 1.8 million people who don't vote. So 2 million people don't even vote or register, and another 1 million people. So 3 million people. So 3 million people out of 5.5 million people. That's nearly 60% of people who are eligible to vote do not vote. So the way this system is rigged, so of the small percentage of people who do vote, they split them into Democrats and Republicans because it's kabuki theater. The other people don't even vote. When I ran for Senate, 60% of the people who came out to vote for us, Tony, were people who never voted. Dark matter. The establishment wings of both wings of the party always make sure they just market and do polling within that small 40% group. You follow? So any polls you get are basically propaganda to go to the.
I agree with you on the polls.
Right. So the issue is, my running for president is about something much more deep and profound. It's about building a movement. The question we should really ask, Tony, is what actually changes the world? When does the world actually change? The world actually changes from movements. Can I play you a quick video, Tony?
We have 6 minutes left.
Yeah, well, we won't be able to do that. I'll play it for our audience later. But the fundamental issue is it is movements that change the world, bottoms up movements. And what we've been building now, it's been a lifetime pursuit of mine. But if you look in 2020, about 500 million people, unique people across the world, came to know about our movement from all those pioneering videos we did on elections, vaccines, long before all the grifters came. And then over the last 2 years, we've had close to 500 million people sign up to the Truth, Freedom, and Health movement. And we are actually, creating gurus and leaders. We want to create leaders based on the science of systems. That's what we're doing. So my running for president is a paradigmatic change, because it's saying, forget these politicians. They're not going to do anything for you. And so if you come to one of my town halls, which we host every Thursdays, what we teach people is, okay, on healthcare, this is what you can do now. This is how you protect your immune. We actually give people solutions now. So I've met Donald Trump. He thinks I'm the greatest thing. I helped on a lot of things, but he's part of the machine. He's part of the kabuki theater. So it doesn't matter what he does. What matters is what we do to build a movement. Okay.
Are you building the movement up in Canada as well?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We have close to 2,000 people in Canada. And now we've let the movement grow bottoms up, truthfreedomhealth.com. And what we've done as a part of that is we're finding people who have learned the materials, and now we're appointing leaders. So we have about 5 major leaders all over Canada. But it's truly a bottoms up movement. It's meritocracy based. We're not just saying, oh, you're a leader, you're a leader. They have to go through the courses, they have to go through the training, and then they get to become a system scientist and a health activist and a freedom fighter. It's all 3 things.
Is there anything you'd like to say to our audience in Nova Scotia, communist Nova Scotia, Canada?
Well, I think the important thing to understand that you asked about the WEF and all these things. People need to understand that our brothers and sisters in Canada should also be supporting our campaign here in Massachusetts and Truth, Freedom, and Health, because, we're on literally the same continent. Whether you look at the WEF, NATO, WHO, they're primarily funded by the United States. And whoever is United States president and the movement that puts that person in office is going to have a tremendous impact, not only in the future of the United States, but also in the future of Canada. That's what I'd like to end with. So there you go. Also, there are some, one of the things our campaign's doing is it's raising the consciousness of people to recognize a naturalized citizen can in fact run for office, which a lot of Americans are, some of them are very ignorant of, because they don't read and they don't study, because school systems, like someone saying yada, 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 saying Shiva still can't be president. Well, the sort of idiot hasn't really studied the Constitution. So part of our campaign is truly an educational movement on healthcare, governance, right? It's teaching people a lot of things. And we're going to have, by the end of this campaign, very, very enlightened people globally, Tony. But thank you.
You're welcome. Well, I got a few minutes left, but I'm going to include your websites on our Rumble page, and we have a Nova Scotia Free Speech Bulletin podcast on Facebook. We're on Gab, MeWe, and Telegram. It's very highly censored on Facebook, as you know. Will you, as president, stop the censorship that's going on before you?
Well, I'm the one who's been fighting against censorship. You know, my lawsuit in 2020 is the one that exposed that the government and big tech unholy alliance. We are still fighting it. Elon Musk is not a fighter for free speech. He's a bullshitter. He's actually accelerating censorship 10.0 right now. Because before they used to just kick you off, what they do now, Tony, is to leave you on and build a digital cage around you. So I will completely cut off the government portals to big tech companies. And it was I who discovered that. I was the one who won the first federal lawsuit, got the injunction in Massachusetts for this. So there you go.
Everybody thinks Elon Musk is for freedom.
Elon Musk comes from apartheid South Africa. Elon Musk thinks he's better than everyone. So he comes from a fascist state. He has fascism in his blood.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us up here in Nova Scotia for the Nova Scotia Free Speech Bulletin podcast. If any of your viewers want to watch us, look at our other podcasts. It's SOS 60 on Rumble. Thank you. All the best to you, and I really appreciate you doing this. Have a great day.
Thank you. Be well, Tony.
All the best.
Yep. So to everyone,
recording stopped.
To everyone continuing to listen here, one of the things I want to let everyone know is that we're going to be doing regular interviews and podcasts with independent podcasters. So any one of you who knows good podcasters, you know, people who are enlightened and want to really learn a systems approach or think beyond left and right, please let me know. You can reach out to us, let us know. We'd love to support independent podcasters versus the swarm podcasters who are bought and paid for, like Joe Rogan, this guy, Russell Brand. All these guys are bought and paid for. So that's what we're doing. We're building an independent movement. So one of the important things everyone can go to is go to truthfreedomhealth.com and become a warrior scholar. You can contribute, but when you contribute, you get a lot back. You can also support our Shiva for President campaign. You can volunteer and you can donate. Again, when you donate, I give you back lots and lots of gifts, which involve books and training. So let me just play you a video.
Who would have ever thought I'd be right?
We have allowed our country to be taken over from within, and the end goal is you will have a homogenized world where we will become slaves, because there is a condition among the elites that really thinks they're better than you, deep down inside them, that you don't deserve the freedoms you have. They don't. This reality is what people need to wake up to, and we need to all unite, working people. There's only one movement that can do that, and that is the movement that we started creating here in Massachusetts, the movement for truth, freedom, and health. Look, I've been a student of politics since I was a 4-year-old kid, studying revolutionary movements, left wing, right wing. There's a physics, there's a nuclear science to destroying the establishment. To build a bridge, you need to understand Newton's equation. You need to understand the laws of gravity. You need to understand Poisson's ratio. There is a way to build a revolution. And that's why I put this together. My goal is to train an army of truth, freedom, and health leaders. We don't need followers like social media. We need leaders, but they need training because the educational system does not teach them history, nothing. So in 3 hours, that's what I've started doing. That's the solution. We got to train people. First, with understanding what a system is, the dynamics of all systems that affect nature. The second is understanding the interconnection between truth, freedom, and health. Freedom is the ability to move freely, communicate freely, talk freely. Without freedom, you cannot convert ideas, hypothesis into truth, which is science. And without freedom, you can't really get to truth. And without truth, you make up fake problems and fake solutions, which means you destroy our health. And without health, which is the infrastructure of us and our body, you can't fight for freedom. Truth, freedom, health. Third concept is it has to be bottoms up. Working people, people who work uniting. And what the right wing has done is whenever you say working people unite, that must be communist. Meanwhile, they've let the Democrats run unions, which suppress workers, completely corrupt. But when you look at the arc of American history, it's been when working people came up. We need to go local. Every solution I'm coming up with as a part of this movement, we're giving the science, which is the truth, and then we tell people what they can do on the ground. Like with election fraud, you don't need to wait for some lawyer. Our goal is to train people to go local, to go local, to go local fight locally. Forget lawyers, forget politicians, forget celebrities. You got to learn politics, and there is a science to it. They lock us down, we should be ready to shut them down. And the fourth part of this principle is the not so obvious establishment. So when you look at a system, there's always something that disturbs you from getting to your goal. Well, the biggest disturbance is the not so obvious establishment, which are those people who claim they're for you, on the left and the right. The Al Sharptons who tell black people I'm for you. The Tucker Carlsons. Do you think any true anti-establishment person will ever be on Fox or CNN? I don't think so. They both mislead working people back into the establishment. Without this solid understanding of political physics and theory, you're screwed. You're going to follow on the left wing Bernie Sanders. Oh, he said something. Or Robert Kennedy. Scumbags. Or you're going to follow some right-wing talk show host. They're not going to lead us to liberation. It's us. We're building a bottoms-up movement, and that political physics, it's a nuclear science of change. Bottoms up. We have to organize to understand that there is people who talk a good game, and then look at what they actually do, left and right. I'm sorry, Sean Hannity may say some good things, but I don't see the urgency in his voice to get something done, and it can only come when you weaponize yourself with the right knowledge. You need to be able to identify a rat. You know, Christ didn't go after the Romans, right? It was the Pharisees and the Sadducees who screwed him up. His own quote-unquote people. And that's where we're at. So these four concepts I've built into a curriculum where people can go to truthfreedomhealth.com, and it's an educational program. We need to train people in political theory. You need to have physics, and I've created that curriculum. People need to get educated. We need to get educated fast. And within a half an hour, I can teach people. 2 years of MIT control systems, I teach people those concepts. Then I apply it, anyone can understand it. And then you say, oh, I got to build a bottoms-up movement. They have to get politically astute, and then they have to go locally and act, not sit there on social media. They have to act locally, defy locally, do civil obedience locally, but with knowledge on how to build a movement. Now, the Senate campaign's expanded to the Movement for Truth, Freedom, and Health, and they can find it on truthfreedomhealth.com, so people can sign in. They can get access to a bunch of videos. If they want to take a course and become a Truth, Freedom, Health leader, I offer a full scholarship there, but we want people to make a commitment that they'll study, that they'll get certified, that they'll go do activities on the ground. So go to truthfreedomhealth.com.
All right, everyone. I hope that was helpful. Be the light. Keep an eye out for our campaign. Get involved. Go to shivaforpresident.com, and you'll be able to get everything you need. Particularly, get bumper stickers. Get on the ground and build this movement. Go to shivaforpresident.com. You can volunteer, and you can also donate. Remember, when you donate, it's hard for me to take something for nothing. We also give you guys. You can get T-shirts and bumper stickers, but you also get lots and lots of gifts and so on. You get books and knowledge, etc. So get involved. Also, every Thursday at 11 a.m. And 8 p.m. we do our orientation, vashiva.com/orientation. We do a separate town hall at 8 p.m. separately at shivaforpresident.com/town hall. Okay, be well. Thank you. Be the light. Thank you. Be well. Let me end off. And if there's no other questions, thanks.